The film opens with archival footage showing nuclear tests in the Pacific Ocean. These tests are later revealed to be attempts to kill a massive, prehistoric creature, Godzilla. The scenes hint a mysterious undersea creature before transporting us to the present day. In 1999, scientist Dr. Ishiro Serizawa and Dr. Vivian Graham investigate in collapsed mine in the Philippines. They discover the fossilized remains of an ancient creature and two mysterious spores, one dormant and one missing. Meanwhile, in Janjira, Japan, nuclear plant supervisor Joe Brady and his wife Sandra work at the Janjira nuclear power plant. Joe detects unusual seismic activity that mirrors a pattern seen years earlier. While they investigate, a sudden explosion causes a radiation breach. Joe helplessly watches his wife Sandra and her team perish while sealing off the reactor. The entire area is quarantined, and the Janjira incident is covered up as a natural disaster. Joe becomes obsessed with finding the truth behind the catastrophe. 15 years later, Joe's son, Ford Brody, now a U.S. Navy explosive ordnance disposal officer, returns home to San Francisco after the deployment. He reunites with his wife Elle and their young son Sam. However, Ford soon learns that his father Joe has been arrested for trespassing in a quarantine zone around Janjira. He decides to travel to Japan and bail Joe out. Joe convinces Ford to accompany him to their old home in Janjira quarantine zone. Joe believes that the government is hiding the true case of the plant's destruction and that the same seismic patterns are returning. Upon arriving, they found the zone has no radiation, contradicting the government's claims. They are soon captured by security forces and taken to a facility built around the remains of the power plant. Here, Dr. Serizawa and Dr. Graham are studying a massive cocoon that has been feeding on the plant's radiation for 15 years. Joe is interrogated but warns that the situation is far from stable. Suddenly, the cocoon cracks open and a giant winged creature known as MUTO, massive unidentified terrestrial organism, emerges. It destroys the facility and flies off, causing massive destruction. Joe is severely injured during the chaos and later dies, leaving Ford devastated. The MUTO begins emitting electromagnetic pulses, disabling electrical gears and weapons systems. The military, led by Admiral William Stans, prepares to combat the creature. Serizawa reveals that the MUTO is searching for radiation to consume, and Godzilla, an ancient alpha predator, may be the only force capable of stopping it. Ford boards a military transport to return to the US, while the MUTO heads towards Hawaii. Meanwhile, Godzilla surfaces from the ocean, following the MUTO's path in a tense sequence at the Honolulu airport. The MUTO attacks, causing widespread destruction. As Godzilla arrives, the two creatures briefly engage in a battle, but MUTO escapes. The military soon discovers there is a second MUTO, a larger, wingless female, hidden at the radioactive waste disposal site in Nevada. It begins heading west for the male MUTO, and at one point it decides to spend the night in Vegas, devastating it along the way. Dr. Serizawa explains that Godzilla and the MUTOs are ancient rivals, and Godzilla's role in the natural order is to restore balance by hunting those creatures. Both MUTOs converge on San Francisco, where they plan to reproduce using a nuclear warhead as a radioactive nest. The military formulates a risky plan to use the warhead to lure the creatures offshore and destroy them. Ford volunteers to assist the military in disabling the warhead if needed. As the MUTOs prepare to nest, Godzilla arrives in San Francisco, leading to an epic showdown between the monsters. Godzilla battles both MUTOs, but the male MUTO uses its flight to its advantage, attacking from the air, while the female MUTO guards the nest. While the monsters battle, Ford and a team of soldiers attempt to retrieve the warhead, which has been activated by the MUTOs. After several failed attempts to disarm it, Ford helps transport the warhead to a boat in San Francisco Bay, where it can be safely detonated at the sea. Godzilla struggles against the two MUTOs, with both creatures overwhelming him at times. However, in a series of dramatic sequences, Godzilla manages to kill the male MUTO by slamming it into a building with his tail. As a female MUTO continues attacking Godzilla, Ford destroys her nest by setting fire on the nuclear axe. Enraged, the female MUTO turns her attention to Ford, but Godzilla unleashes his iconic atomic breath, blasting her in the mouth and decapitating her. Exhausted from the battle, Godzilla collapses into the city's wreckage. With the warhead successfully transported away from the city and detonated at the sea, San Francisco is saved. Ford is rescued and reunited with his family. Next morning, amid the devastation, Godzilla, thought to be dead, awakens and slowly rises. He roars triumphantly before returning to the ocean. Hailed as the king of monsters, the media portrays Godzilla as a savior, and Dr. Serizawa reflects on the balance of nature being restored. Godzilla disappears in the ocean, leaving humanity in awe of a massive creature that fought to save them. The last scene shows the wrecked city of San Francisco as Godzilla swims away, setting the stage for future encounters.